Hi, I'm Allison from Thronateeska, and today we are going to be talking about the moon. Now, this cute little guy is just a model. It's not the real thing, obviously. The moon is in orbit around the Earth. You've probably seen it if you've looked outside at night. That big white thing up in the sky is the moon. Now, what is the moon made out of? People used to have real serious questions about this. It's terrestrial, which means that it's made of rock and dirt and ice and all this other solid stuff that we can fly to and land on and walk around on and take samples back to Earth. But people didn't always know that. They had real questions about what the moon was made out of. In fact, one of the very first movies ever made in 1902 was called A Trip to the Moon. It was made in France, inspired by some of the books of Jules Verne, and it was all about these men creating this rocket that was strong enough to send people to the moon, and they went there and had all these adventures, and things got really weird. Of course, when people actually went to the moon, they saw it was a lot different than that. Now, it's called the moon because people didn't realize that there was more than one in outer space at first. Not until 1610, that is, when Galileo Galilei used one of the very earliest telescopes, and he looked at well, actually, he was looking at Jupiter. He did look at our moon, but he was looking at other places in the solar system. And he looked up and he was like, that looks like it has ears on it. What's going on there? And then he watched it, and he watched it, and he saw they were moving. He found out, well, good grief, it's got moons too. And that just kind of blew everyone's minds. It was amazing. Now we know that there are lots of moons in our solar system. In fact, Jupiter alone has over 75. It's incredible. Lots and lots of moons out in outer space. Now, how big is the moon next to the Earth? Well, I've got these two models here. That's not exactly accurate there. So the moon's not quite this big next to the Earth. If you have a nickel handy and you also have a little green pea, the pea is about the size of the moon compared to the Earth, with the nickel being the Earth. So not near as big. It's only probably about a third the size of the Earth. Now, the moon is in orbit around the Earth. Its gravity is responsible for the ocean tides going in and out. It tugs on the Earth all the time. So that moving around there is called the orbit. Now, you may notice if you watch it, it looks the same, where you see the same shapes on it all the time. The lighting of it looks different. That's something different. We'll get into that later. But the shapes that you see on the surface, those spots that are on it, look the same all the time. And that is because the moon is in this perfectly synced orbit as it's going around the Earth. It's called a tidally locked rotation, or a tidally locked synchronous orbit. It's tidally locked. That's the important part. So it's turning at just the right amount as it's going around the Earth. So we always see the same face of the moon. If you get on NASA's website and you look at pictures of the other side of the moon, it's wild because it looks completely different. It's covered in all sorts of craters and pock marks where it's gotten pounded by so many things from outer space. But we never get to see that part because it's always facing the same part towards planet Earth all the time. Now, why does it look different? Why does the lighting look different to us at different times of the month? Well, that has to do, again, with its orbit. As the moon is going around the Earth, if I were the sun and we are there in the northern hemisphere, as the moon's going around us, the moon's not making its own light. The light is coming from the sun, so it's just reflecting the light. So sometimes we get to see all of the light, like a full side of light reflected off from the sun. Other times we only see like 3/4 of it. Other times we only see about half of it. And then other times we can't see it at all because it's the backside of the moon getting lit up. That's called the new phase. So we have these phases of the moon as it goes in orbit around the Earth every month. And that's just got to do with light waves and perspective. It's not complicated. It's just stuff moving around in outer space. Well, I thank you so much for stopping by to listen a little bit about the moon. I would encourage you to check out spaceplace.nasa.gov to learn more and stay safe. Thanks.